retired Admiral James Ace Lyons. He was the Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Fleet.
Well, first, I want to thank you all for taking time to be here today. This is really a critically important issue. Oh, knees down. That better? You got it? I don't want you to miss anything. I mean, after all, Roger covered everything. I'll take your questions. I got to tell you, what went on in Benghazi was un-American. I have never seen in my 6 decades, and I've got that age right, of watching Washington politics view a cover-up as intense as the Benghazi cover-up. I mean, you have to ask yourself, why do you hold those who are on the ground incommunicado, refuse to let them testify, make them sign non-disclosure agreements? What is it you're trying to hide? You know, let's not forget Watergate. Watergate was just a bungled robbery. Nobody got killed. Benghazi, we got our consulate attacked, our mission violated, 4 Americans killed, including the United States ambassador. This should raise all sorts of questions, not the least of which is our response. I mean, we knew that the situation in eastern Libya was out of control. It was controlled by the Al-Qaeda-affiliated militias. The 17 February Martyrs Brigade that was assigned the task to guard our special mission compound was part of the Libyan Shield, which is an Al-Qaeda-affiliated group. And it's my understanding that those guards were not allowed to put ammunition into their weapons. That should be very comforting in that environment. Kind of reminds me of the Marines in Beirut who were not allowed to chamber around at that time. But anyway, going back to Benghazi, here we had a situation where embassy, the ambassador, his predecessor, requesting additional security measures, security guards. Stevens wanted 2 9-man mobile security teams. Not only were they turned down, but security that was there was drawn down. Now, in that environment, you got to tell me, does this make any sense? I know you all wouldn't want to be in that position. I sure as hell wouldn't want to be in that position. So here we go. We have the day of the event. We knew the Blue Mountain security manager who controlled the 17 February Martyrs Brigade. That afternoon, he put out an alert. He sensed something was wrong. He put it out on his radios and his cell phones. What did anybody do with that? That morning, we knew uniformed policemen were taking photos of the inside of the compound. We know that from a later memo found in the compound that Ambassador Stevens found this troubling. And you know, we had, up to this point, we had all sorts of strategic and tactical warning that something was not right. Roger mentioned it, and I won't go over that again. But we had the day of the event, we had Sean Smith put out a tweet: if we get out of tonight alive, we'll be lucky, or words to that effect. Now, why would he put out such a message like that? You have to ask yourself, in the situation that existed in eastern Libya, why would the ambassador find it compelling to go to Benghazi on the anniversary, 11th anniversary of 9/11? What was that special mission compound being used for? I've seen a number of reports that say it was being used to funnel weapons and arms to the rebels in Syria. We know on 6 September, there was a Libyan ship discharging 400 tons of weapons in Iskindran for the Syrian rebels. That remains unanswered. We had the Accountability Review Board do their study. The only question they answered, they did disabuse that there was no demonstration as a result of the 14-minute video. But everything else was useless. They didn't answer the questions. It was like having the mafia investigate a crime scene. The fact that they stated there was no strategic or tactical warning was wrong. That our military response, there wasn't time to get it there, is wrong. And I have to ask, when the attack started, it was immediately known in Washington, within minutes. And this has been verified by a number of sources. Why didn't we request assistance from the Turkish and Italian embassies, consulates in Benghazi? Why didn't we ask assistance from that UK security team that dropped off their vehicles at the compound at 8 p.m. that evening? When queried, they all said, we weren't asked, but if asked, we would have provided support. Why wasn't F-16s out of Aviano, Italy, immediately launched to make a low pass over the consulate in full afterburner? This has proven to be a very effective tactic in scattering mobs and so forth. The Ansar al-Sharia militia knew full well of the capability of our Air Force. It would have done the job. Why wasn't the 130-man Marine Force recon team that was sitting at Sigonella, Italy, ever utilized? There are a number of other forces that could have been utilized but weren't. We know SecDef Panetta did activate 2 Marine counter-terrorist teams in Rota, Spain. One was to go to Tripoli, one was to go to Benghazi. It took 23 hours from Rota to get the first team to Tripoli. They must have been walking. I mean, this is incredible. It's just like the F-16s from Aviano. We could have had them there in 90 minutes. And if anybody tells you, and I know Tom is going to back me up on this as the U.S. USAFE commander in Europe, if they didn't have those aircraft there in 90 minutes, that commander would have been fired on the spot. The same way, why didn't that 2nd Marine counterterrorist team deployed to Benghazi? The answer given is, well, everybody was out of there. Well, that's nonsense. They should have secured the compound, would have let the FBI immediately get in, collect evidence and data, instead of having to wait over 3 weeks to get in. Furthermore, you can't tell me that that special mission compound did not have sensitive communication equipment, records, files, and so on. What happened to it all? Who has it now? How come the leaders of the Ansar al-Sharia militia can sit in a cafe, outdoor cafe in Benghazi today, sipping his tea and puffing on his hookah, and nobody's arrested him? What's going on here? When I was on the Lou Dobbs show several months ago, Lou asked me to speculate, what did I think happened? And I said, well, if I had to speculate, I think it was an attack that went terribly wrong. Because up to this point, we've had numerous cases, emissaries to the White House requesting the release of the blind sheikh. I mean, we've given visas to known terrorists to come into the White House and the national security staff to make the case. So when Lou asked me, I said, I think it was an attack that went terribly wrong. I believe that he was to be kidnapped, Ambassador Stevens, and held hostage in exchange for the blind sheikh. And of course, if you put Sean Smith's little Twitter message, you have to ask yourself, was there something that they knew about that was going to happen that night? I don't know. But these are questions and answers that have to be provided. They have to be provided to the families of those killed. And the American people need to know that the answers to what difference does it make, there are going to be answers, and those will be held accountable. Thank you.